Hi, this is PapaG and welcome to Papa Can Cook. Today we're going to talk about garlic. For an Italian, garlic is an essential ingredient. It's in most Italian recipes and it has a wonderful flavor when used correctly. So we're going to talk about how do you marry the way you prepare the garlic with the recipe you're using. Garlic can be extremely strong, extremely pungent. So what you have to do is you have to prepare it correctly. There are several ways to do it. We'll start out with something that's very mild. So if you have a dish that's a very mild flavor, what you don't want to do is overpower it with the garlic. So what you do is you can take the clove as it is and just put the entire clove in the recipe, in the pan, cook with it, and then possibly even remove it before you serve it. Okay, I have 3 cloves of garlic that I've already peeled. Just a hint, to easily peel a clove of garlic, cut the base off, smack it lightly with the flat edge of the knife. That'll separate the skin and then you can peel the skin off pretty easily. So the first thing we're going to do, we've already talked about using a whole clove of garlic for something that has a mild flavor where you don't want to overpower it with the garlic. If you want to slice it, now I have a couple of dishes that I like to slice it for, both because I want a little more flavor and because it looks better. One is when I make string beans almondine, and I use sliced almonds, and when I put the sliced garlic in and I slice it lengthwise and it browns a little bit, it looks like the almonds, and it just is aesthetically very pleasing. So what I do now is take a knife, which I just want to make sure I put a nice edge on it, and then I slice it lengthwise, nice and thin. Okay, and now I could put this in a recipe where I want a little more flavor. Now let's say I want something with even a more robust garlic flavor. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to chop it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this peeled clove of garlic and I'm going to smack it on the flat side of the knife. Make sure it's the flat side, otherwise it'll be very messy. And then I will take, and with a chopping, like a rocking chopping motion, I will chop the garlic into not too small. I'm not looking to mince it, just looking to chop it. So now I have chopped garlic. Okay, the last one is when you want to mince the garlic. So now what you do is and that's when you have the ultimate flavor, strength of flavor for the garlic. Now you take the clove of garlic again, you smack it with the flat blade of the knife. You kind of chop it, but if you really want to mince it very small, one of the tips I saw on a show with Jacques Pepin is to take some olive oil. Now I use light olive oil, and the reason I do that, and we can talk about olive oil as a separate episode by itself, but basically you don't want to use extra virgin olive oil for frying or sauteing. It has a lower smoke point and it will burn when you do that. So what I use is light olive oil. Light olive oil has a higher smoke point, and I can use that for frying or for sauteing. Now since I will almost decidedly fry or saute with this garlic, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil over it. Not a lot, but on the cutting board. And then what you can do is you can now get a nice fine chop on it, and it won't fly all over. If you try and do this with the garlic dry, you'll just have garlic all over the kitchen. This olive oil tends to hold it in place, and you get the finest mince in your garlic that you can. Before we move on, one note about cooking with garlic. You don't want to burn the garlic. So the best thing to do is to put it in the pan, put oil in the pan first, heat the oil up, not too high, put the garlic in, and when it starts to release its fragrance, you want to put the other ingredients in. Don't let it sit there until it starts to brown, because it will quickly burn and it will taste horrible. Sometimes with some recipes, like a lot of recipes where I'm sauteing onions, I'll put the onions in first, let them soften, and then I'll put the garlic in. So that way I don't overcook the garlic. So that's just a word about cooking with the garlic. Now, last but not least, if you want to bring out the sweetness in garlic, and believe me, garlic can be very sweet and it can add that dynamic, that dimension of sweetness to a recipe. I like to roast it. Now I will use roasted garlic in tomato sauce or macaroni with clams, macaroni with broccoli, a lot of those type of recipes where you're really looking to heighten the sweetness of the garlic. So how do you do that? Well, I take a whole head of garlic and I'll take a serrated knife and I'll cut the top of the head of garlic. Okay, just make sure I've cut the tops of all of the cloves of garlic in the head. Then what I'll do is I will put it in my handy garlic roaster. Now, you don't need a garlic roaster to do this. You could use any oven-safe glass or ceramic bowl, put it in, and you would cover it with aluminum foil. But I'll take this here, I'll put my head of garlic, and then I will take my olive oil, and you could use extra virgin olive oil for this, but I happen to have this out now. And I will pour a little bit on the top of the head of garlic so that it goes into the individual cloves. Then I will put it in my handy garlic roaster and put it in my oven, which is preheated to 400 degrees. Now that will stay there for 40 minutes, and after 40 minutes and it's cooled down a bit, I'll tell you how we get it out and use it. All right, now we have taken the roasted garlic out of the oven. It's cooled down a bit, and I'm going to show you what I do to take it out so I can use it. I have a little espresso spoon that I use, but you don't need that. You could use the back end of a regular teaspoon to accomplish the same thing. So I'll take the head of garlic, and for each of these cloves, I will kind of scoop it out and put it in a little bowl so that I can then save it and use it. And take each one of these out, try and get as much as I can. I don't want to lose any. You can smell how sweet the garlic is at this point. It's incredible what roasting does for garlic. Make sure you don't get any of the paper skin from the garlic in this. And once you have this all out, you can take it and depending on what you're going to use it in, I'm going to just make sure I've gotten the garlic out and I don't have any of the skin. You can then take it and you can mash it, which is what I would typically do, or at least cut it up, and then you could use it in your recipe. It will taste fantastic.